Welcome back, everyone, to True Crime Desk. I'm Richard, and I'm here once again with my sister and co-host Maria.
Hi, everybody.
Today, we're going to do our end of the month review. This is where we go over some of the cases that are in the news, and I think we're going to do about 4 of them this week. So it seemed this seemed to work out pretty good last month. Something I want to do at the end of every month, and like I said, it seemed to do pretty good. So we're definitely going to do it again. So the first case we're going to go over is going to be Karen Reed. So you're familiar with Karen, of course, right?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. It's an interesting case, and I know she's trying to get it thrown out, but not doing so well.
Right. So that's all we really have. There's not a lot on Karen at this point. I mean, she was had her first trial was a mistrial, and they're trying to get some of the charges thrown out. I know they were talking to some of the jurors, and they're trying to get all that figured out, and they're trying to get the whole case thrown out. I know that's what they're trying to do, and that was denied. Now, I didn't see anywhere when the next trial, I think I vaguely heard is next year. I did, now that I'm thinking about it. It's next year sometime.
I believe it's next year as well, and I don't know if it was January or not. There is one thing I did hear. I heard that there is a case against her with his family is suing her.
That's right.
Yes, there's the mother, the father, the brother, and the young child that he adopted. Well, he adopted 2 of them, a girl and a boy.
Right.
But the girl, they're all suing Karen, and there was a big, huge write up on all the reasonings why, and a lot of it I heard, and a lot of it to me it's going to be hard for them to prove that. But yeah, they're trying to sue her, a civil case.
That's right. You mentioned that. I did see that.
Yeah.
I think I even sent you a text on it originally. Yeah, they are suing her for a civil, which is completely different. So what she said is about it. Yeah, I didn't see any of that info, but that's very interesting. I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. That happens quite often. You know.
Yeah, I have a hard time with that civil stuff when someone's found not guilty, but she wasn't found not guilty. She was had a mistrial. So to me, it's just, I guess we'll talk about it later when we'll find out more. But yeah, I just find it interesting. Yep.
Yeah, they don't need to. I mean, a lot of times they don't have criminal trials; they just have civil trials. So it's almost like it's almost like, I don't know if that would be done first. You know, by the way the criminal trial is going, it might start after and finish first. Who knows?
Yeah,
I mean, it's pretty wild.
It is very wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much. You have anything else on Karen?
No, I was just gonna say that there's a lot of people for her, a lot of people against her. So it's very very interesting trial.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the second one, yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting. That's for sure. The first one was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It was like a movie, and they're definitely gonna make it.
It was like a movie. Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna make some kind of movie out of this. There's no way. There's no way.
You're probably right on that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's unfortunately because somebody lost their life, but
yeah,
it's pretty sad. All right, so the next case we're going to talk about is a man, if you want to call him that. His name is Sean Finnegan. So you're familiar with this one, right?
I am familiar with this one. This is a very hard case.
Yes, it is. I mean, what do you know?
Well, I tried watching the trial, and I did watch the girl that was his girlfriend on the stand, and honestly, Richard, I have to say it's probably one of the worst, most horrific trials I've ever seen. It made me literally ill to my stomach, and it was hard to watch. It's hard to believe that such horrible things could happen to someone, and yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, so I'll give a basic rundown here of what the case is about in case you're not familiar. It says on December 2019 in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, Sean Finnegan, along with his much younger fiancee, Rebecca Dishman, that's the lady you're talking about.
Correct.
Abused a young woman named Jennifer Paxton, and while she was in captivity, they had kept her locked up. Guess she came over to visit. Supposedly he was going to take a shower, and then they locked her up and did a lot of stuff to her. It says they allegedly chained her up, assaulted her, and tortured her for over a course of days. Eventually, she was emmed and mummified and taken apart and placed into a stand-up freezer. So it's She was in that freezer for months. So that's pretty bad.
It is really bad, and they were trying to blame each other. You know,
Yes.
she ran to her neighbor and told the neighbor that she wanted to get away from him because he was abusive. So the neighbor um, found a place for her to go to a shelter at a different county. And as she's driving her to this shelter, the girl tells her, you know, that there was a body in the freezer. And so she called her husband and told her husband, "You need to call the police." And so he did. And they showed that the him calling the police, and you could tell he didn't want to get involved. I mean, he did call the police. He let them know what he was told, but he did not want to get involved. And you know, so it was like a said she said thing. But my personal opinion, and I don't want to get long winded on you. My personal opinion is like she could have helped the lady when he went to work, and she did not. So she did plead
Yeah.
guilty. She did plead guilty and was found guilty. But
Yeah. It says here that Sean, now obviously Sean, what you had mentioned, he blamed Rebecca. He said that she hit her in the head. She hit her in the head with a baseball bat and then went upstairs to the bedroom. So that's what his excuse is, that she did it. That's his excuse. Not that none of the other stuff didn't happen, is that she did it and he had nothing to do with it. That's what he's claiming.
right. Well,
And of
here's
course, she says the opposite.
right. Well, from my understanding, he has past things that he has done that he apparently kidnapped somebody else, and I believe it was 2015, and chained her and everything as well. This was before he had the fiance. She wasn't around, and she convinced him to let her go by saying she had to go pick up her daughter, 11-year-old daughter, or something like that in that regard. And he actually let her go and took her home. So I don't understand how this person was even out in society in the first place.
Yeah, this is what he claims. It says Sean claims that Rebecca Dishman hit her in the head with a baseball bat when he was upstairs in the bedroom. He said he claims that Rebecca was bipolar, and she must have had a blackout. He said that he freaked out and didn't know what to do, and that she was still alive at that point. So he had nothing to do with it. It was upstairs. She got hit in the head, came down, freaked out, said she's bipolar. You know, just throwing everything out there to see what's going to stick. And then that was about it. Then he just said it. And then when Rebecca got home, he said he went to work and she was still alive then. And then when he gets home, as he comes home, he sees that she's strangling her, which is, so she waited for you to walk in the door. I mean, it makes no sense. So
Right.
it's absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
So that's what he claims. Now, of course, her story is completely different.
It
Right.
is. It's a total opposite. Total opposite. He did
Yes.
everything and made her do this, that, and the other, which I'm not going to get into because it's S abuse and um, total opposite. But here's the thing: she got hit in the head with the bat, regardless who did it, which he did. But the saying we didn't know, she was still alive. Someone could have got her out of there, got the police, you know, or got her, you know, safe. And the whole thing is ridiculous and sickening. And honestly, watching the case, um, my husband walked in the room when I was watching the case, and he's like, "Whoa!" And the guy, the actual Sean, he's scary looking. He is a scary looking person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is. Not so bad now. He's in court, cleaned up a little bit.
Oh, he still looks scary to
But
me.
there's some cases, you know, some images there that is where his hair's down when he first got arrested, and he's creepy looking for sure.
Yeah.
Now she claims that Jennifer came there and that she didn't know her. Jennifer Paxton came there and she made breakfast. He introduced her to her and she made breakfast, which is kind of strange if someone comes into your home and starts making breakfast in your kitchen.
Right.
But that's what she said happened, that she made breakfast. And while she was doing that, he looked at her and said, "Hey, do you want to kidnap her?" And
Right.
then when she went to leave, he went over and hit her in the head with a bat. That's what she's saying. He hit her in the head with a bat.
Correct.
And then she went outside. He told her to come back inside. And when she came inside, he was straddling over her and strangled her with some shoelaces, I guess she said.
Right. Right.
That's what her story is. So it's completely opposite.
Exactly.
So we don't know who to believe.
Exactly.
You know, we both know that they're both not good people. Let's just put it that way, for whatever reason. But they're both blaming each other as usual.
Right. Well, the sad thing is the lady was It was unfortunate. She was homeless, and she was down on luck, and she was homeless. She had some issues, and so she went there because he tricked her, and so she did take a shower and she did eat food, and then he did that stuff, hit her over the head
Right.
with the bat. She tried to protect herself with one of those screens that you put in front of your fireplace. She was holding that in front of her, according to his fiance, and it didn't help because that guy's huge. That guy's a huge guy. And then she was still alive, and then they took her upstairs and chained her to the bed, and
Yeah.
did all the stuff
Abused
that
her for
happened.
days.
Yep.
All right. So this part I'm going to go over is after she had passed away and they were putting her in a freezer. So fair warning on this is a little rough. It says she said this is his fiance claims this, that he helped him. She helped him put her in the freezer, and then he had to stuff her in there because she claimed that she heard snapping noises as he was forcing her into the freezer, and that the blood had freaked her out because when he was forcing her in the freezer, he had this snapping noises, and then there was blood. It kind of went all over her face, so it kind of freaked her out. So I think we kind of know what those snapping noises are, but it's pretty gruesome, very
It's
very nasty
it's
stuff.
horrific. It's absolutely horrific.
Exactly.
Then when the police finally did come after they were called, they were told that she was in the freezer, and the freezer apparently was in his closet, and he had taken a extension cord and ran into his room and plugged in, and that's why he was able to have it in the closet. Is what she said. Um, when they got there, of course, there was nothing in their freezer except for food. He had taken her out and shoved her underneath the bed, and there was a little bit of a blanket that kind of was sticking out. So when the police, started searching his house, they found her.
Yeah, and that will stick with them forever, of course.
Yep.
I think a lot of times we forget that there's more than just one person involved. It's a lot of collateral damage all over the place.
There is, and thank
So
goodness
I'm
for her
gonna,
family. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I say thank goodness for her family, because if it wasn't for them, they would have never known who she was, But she had like some tattoos on her body and stuff, so that's how they were able to figure out who she was. But if they wouldn't have, mentioned she was missing, they couldn't find her, they would have never known who she was.
yeah, right. So I'll go over the medical examiner his testimony. So once again, this is pretty rough. Okay, she said that part of her left ear was missing. It was one thing. She also said that she had cuts. Let's see, she had cuts on her nose before her nose was removed. So she had cuts all over her nose. She had multiple little wounds all over her body, and she had it at the trial. There were so many wounds that she had a white mannequin standing there, and she'd put these dots all over the mannequin, and it was completely full. There was dots everywhere.
See, I didn't see that because it made me so ill. I didn't want to watch anymore. I didn't want to watch anymore.
So she's over there talking about each wound and her ear being missing and her nose, and placing dots all over the place in the whole left arm. So it was ridiculous. So it's pretty rough.
Well, go ahead.
So go ahead.
I was going to say, from my understanding, it was worse than that because it was reported he did things to her when she wasn't alive, as well.
Oh yeah, anything you can think of was done.
Yeah.
I don't know why you'd think of it, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Correct.
It was horrific. Yeah, it didn't matter to him, alive, not alive.
Right.
It's horrifying. Now, Rebecca Dishman, she was 25. She pled guilty to one count of first-degree M in the death of 36-year-old Jennifer Gale Paxton. She was sentenced to life in prison for M, with an additional 50 years to serve at 100% on 2 counts of R of a child for a subsequent investigation. So a different investigation. Can't even say that word. So there was another investigation where she was charged with R on a child. So she had to serve 100% of a 50-year term on that as well. So she's far from an innocent person here. You know what I mean?
Correct. I know she had a rough life, was what they were explaining, the way she grew up. Her parents both passed and everything, but there's no excuse for that. And the thing is, they did find things on their phones with evidence that they had done stuff to little children, and they were, I'm talking little, like, and
Yeah.
I don't know where the children are, what happened. And here's the thing, my gut tells me that this was not the first time, this was not the second time, and I'm scared to think that there might be more women out there that they don't know about.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's definitely not the first time.
yeah,
Yeah. You don't start with this. You graduate to this.
correct.
So that's definitely I definitely agree with you there. So now Sean Finnegan says at around 11:15 a.m. the jury found him guilty of 2 counts of first degree criminal negligence, H H side, I don't know what H side is, and a whole slew of other charges. So I actually wrote it and I don't even know what abbreviation for H is. So criminal negligence and H side. So I guess, not alive. The judge sentenced Sean Finnegan to death, and the judge read in the sentence explaining that the jury found severe aggravating factors that led them to their death penalty. So they have to have aggravating factors to give him the death penalty. So he's going to get the death penalty. He has a death penalty, which means he won't be put to death for about 25 or 30 years. So he'll probably outlive both of us, because you know how that goes.
Yeah, and I know it's sickening. It's, I don't know, and when, he's just a horrible human being, if you can even call him a human being. So that was a horrific case, and definitely trigger warning on all those things. It's, I can't understand anything like this happening, and it doesn't even seem like real life when it's all this horrible stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, I heard that I wasn't keeping an eye on this case. I wasn't watching it until I did a little bit of the research. But when I found out he got the death penalty, I thought it was, in today's age, it has to be, I mean,
Pretty
really
bad,
bad.
right,
And you
right.
would think so. I mean, sometimes you would think some are getting them and they don't. It just, some people don't believe in it. I do personally. I don't think they use it enough. And yeah, so that's just what my personal opinion is. So I knew it must have been pretty bad when I knew they were doing that.
I
So I didn't know
agree.
if you, yeah.
I didn't hear
So
about the case either until you mentioned it to me. And when I started to watch, I'm like, oh my Lord, I don't know if I can watch this whole thing. Yeah.
yeah, I know. So, do you have anything else on that?
No, I just, pray for the family and feel really sorry for them and that poor woman.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It went through a lot for no reason whatsoever,
Correct.
just for somebody's sick fantasies.
Right.
It's disgusting. All right, guys. So we're gonna move on to the next case. And that's gonna be Christopher Greer, which they're calling the treadmill case. So you know about this one as well, right?
I do know about this one. I actually seen it when they were starting to talk about it. I seen little snippets on the TV, and I'm like, what is going on with this? Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Now, Christopher Greer, or Gregor, excuse me, Gregor, he was charged in the killing of his son, his 6-year-old son. Now, I can't say his last name. It's Corey
I think
Micciolo. I have no idea how you say it. It's Micciolo. So I'm going to call him Corey. I apologize. So he's charged with the killing of his 6-year-old son. So there's an infamous footage of him forcing his son to run on a fast moving treadmill, while he proceeds to he keeps falling off. He keeps throwing him back on it, and he claims that and he also claims to this day that he's innocent. It's tough to watch because the little guy's trying to run on there and he keeps falling on his face, and then it's running, and then he tries to jump on it while it's running, and that's not going to work. And so he
right.
did it like a whole bunch of times. I don't understand what he was trying to teach him here. I mean, when you stand on something moving, you're going to fall. I just don't get it.
I mean,
It's
there was one
ridiculous.
point he was picked him up and he was literally holding him with his head pushed on his head and just forced him to stand there to get his legs going. And
Hmm.
The thing is, when I watched it from the beginning, it's like the little guy, he went on the treadmill on his own, and he was on
Right.
that treadmill for a long time. I even said to myself, I don't think I could be on it that long. He was already doing a good pace at a long time, and then he came over and started his shenanigans with turning it up and having them go so fast where he little legs couldn't keep up. He was hitting his chest on it. I mean, and you can see him look at his dad for approval, like, oh, like, what am what am I supposed to do? He was forcing him over and over. And like, it's hard for, as a mom, it's hard for me to understand a person doing that. And in my mind, it's like, did he, did he not know he's hurting his child? Was he trying to be abusive? Or was it just he's just this tough guy? Oh, I'm going to teach him how to be tough. He's learn to do the treadmill the way he should, or whatever. I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I just gets the power move. I guess I don't know. I have three boys, as you know. I raised them on my own pretty much. My mom helped me, and yeah, so I know what it's like to raise young men. They're grown men now, and I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. This is, I mean, your boys look up to you, and you like you said, his son is even actually looking at him like, what am I
Mhm.
doing? What's going on? And he's completely confused. He's supposed to be the one you can trust,
Right.
and these are the ones that do this to you. It's heartbreaking. It really is, because it's just like you just want to jump through the video. When you see videos like this, you just want to be able
Yes.
to go in there. You know what I mean?
And save him. Yeah, he's 6 years old. 6 years old. He's so young.
Yeah,
Oh,
he was pretty tall for a 6 year old too.
yeah.
Now the medical examiner said that the cause of his passing was blunt force trauma. And in May, Christopher was found guilty of aggravated aggravated aggravated
There you go.
manslaughter, and the juror rejected the more serious charge of M, of
Mhm.
course.
Mhm.
A lot of times, this is like I said, we do these videos. I put my own opinion out there, and I just think they're cowardly. I think a lot of these jurors they're cowardly. I mean, they'll find people guilty, and they always try to weasel their way out or say, "Well, I want to live. I can't." I don't get it. So he was found guilty on the lesser charge.
Mhm.
And it says on August 2nd, 2024, Christopher Gregor was sentenced to 25 years in prison, and now he has to serve 85% of that. And with time served, he'll end up serving about 19 to 19 and a half years because they gave him a break. Why?
Right. 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 He got 20 years for aggravated manslaughter and 5 years for endangering the welfare of a child. And it was consecutive. Uh, I don't know. I mean, we could always just wonder what the jurors think. I mean, that's a hard job. I don't want to like judge them at one bit because it's a hard
I
job.
do. I
But
judge them all the time.
yeah, yeah, because I mean, here's the thing: if when he noticed that the son was having issues, he didn't rush him to the hospital. He didn't. He waited and waited, and then by the time he took him there, after he called his ex and asked for the information and hung up the phone. Oh, I'm taking him to the hospital and hanging out. Who does that? That's the mother. I don't care if you get along or not. It's the mother of the child. You don't do that. And when he arrived at the hospital, Corey was on his shoulder. So the gentleman couldn't, the one that was, seeing what was going on, I think it was like a nurse or something, he couldn't see Corey's face. So he was going by what the father was telling him. And the father told him, oh, he went last night because his ex took him to the hospital the night before. And they sent him to another hospital where they had a specialist on child you know, abuse. I guess I can say that. And uh, everything came back okay, I guess. And so he mentioned that. So the nurse was thinking, oh, well, he was at the hospital last night and everything, all the blood work, everything came back good. So he was thinking it's not an urgent thing until he put his head back a little bit and he seen his eyes were rolled back in his head and he realized, uh-oh. So he rushed into a room. He was lethargic, very pale, and his temperature was 96.9. The nurses, they rushed in there, and his dad left. He didn't stay by his side. His dad left, and he started seizing, and his heart stopped, and you know, this poor child. I mean, because he had this huge bruise on his chest, the I think falling on that, hitting it like that, it hurt, it messed up his heart, you know. Now, what I was going to ask you is like they were mentioning in the trial that there was the medical examiner mentioned that there was other bruising and things like that that didn't look like it would be from normal means, like from falling as a child or playing football or anything like that. Did you hear about that? Because I actually didn't hear about that.
No, I just know that
Yeah.
he was clearly abusing him for a while.
Yeah.
This is not something that just happened.
Yeah.
This is something we just found out about.
And it
But
seems
he's
like it
obviously
was
was doing it
because
for a
of the
while.
wife. I mean, the ex-wife or ex-girlfriend or whatever. Yeah. And he was doing it.
Because of her?
Yeah, because he didn't like her. So,
Well, yeah, I know that he didn't even know about him until he was about 4 years old. That I do know. I know that his father, who was Corey's grandfather, received a phone call, and then he went and talked to his son. And obviously, she said something about it having a child, and they decided to, step up and have him be around the grandfather. It was real hard to watch the grandfather talk, how he first found out about it. Now he realized he's the grandfather, which was his first grandchild, and then he eventually ended up living with them. And so I don't know how that happened, he didn't know about him, and then all of a sudden he does, and now he's living with them. So I don't know how that happened, but I know that he has a different last name. So I know that it was hard to watch. That was tough to see the grandpa and see the pain in his face when he's trying to talk about him. He's a former state trooper, I think it was. So he had years of experience, older gentleman. And so he's been around a lot of stuff like that, but he was having a hard time, of course. It's understandable. I'm blessed to have one grandson, and I can only imagine, I don't want to imagine how horrifying that would be. So, and how proud you are to be a grandfather.
correct.
So I know that for a fact. So
Yeah.
that was definitely hard to watch. So I'm not sure what the exact backstory is between the two of them. I didn't get into that. I really didn't care. I just know that what he did was unforgivable. And it was way more than he should have got more time. Let's just put it that way.
It is unforgivable. I think that he got the child. He had full custody or something like that, more custody than she did because she
Right.
kept getting, falling into getting back on drugs. She was trying to, get better, but she kept relapsing or something. But, yeah, I don't understand it at all. If you don't want the child, then yeah, I don't get it. And I do think that that's not very many years for, you know. One thing I don't know if you noticed, he actually stood up after he got a sentencing. He stood up and he spoke to the court and he apologized to her. Oh, we haven't talked since it happened. And he mentioned that he was sorry that they lost Corey. He never once said he was sorry for what he did or anything. And he did
'cause he's
his
not.
little, yeah, exactly, his little fake tears and everything like that. What really bothered me, because at the very, very end of the trial, they did a montage of Corey. It was beautiful. Showed all the cute little pictures, his cute little face. He just looks like such a happy child
Yeah.
and so cute. And it made me, and honestly, made me mad watching him look at it and be able to look at Corey and see the pictures. It made me mad. It's like, you don't deserve it. You don't deserve it.
Yeah. Well, when your son is injured and you caused it, you're hiding it,
Yep.
and you go to the doctors and you go home, and then you don't do anything about it. It's a lot more than aggravated manslaughter.
Right. Well, I don't know if you know. I don't know if you knew this, but he actually had called after Corey was real bad. He actually called this hotline number and spoke to someone for a long time and was trying to say, "Oh, Corey was with the mother last night, all night, or whatever." And it was like he's trying to cover his bases to make it look like it happened with her. So thank goodness, honestly, for the video. Thank goodness for the video.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean,
Yeah.
unfortunate that the poor mom had to see it and any of that, and us as well. But I mean, it helped the police officers to figure out, what the heck happened.
Yeah. It's pretty wild because he didn't even know he had a son till he was almost 4. Obviously, she had some issues, so that's why I guess one of the reasons she wanted him to be here with his dad, or maybe I don't really know why, but she's regretting that decision now because you're never thinking that you're going to try to do what you think is right to show him his father, so they have both sides, and then he ends up Kang him.
Correct.
So now you don't have your son. It's just like there isn't a minute that doesn't go by that she thinks about that decision.
I agree. You try and do the right thing and it bites you, I
Yeah.
agree.
And the poor child was hurt because of that.
Yep.
And he's going to serve a whole 19 years. Tough. Good jury work there, guys. All right, so the next case is going to be Stephan Sterns. And so this is the Madeline Soto case, and this one hasn't gone to trial yet. This is a pretty wild case. This guy had a lot of stuff on his phone. Now, Stephan Sterns is the main suspect in the death of Madeline Soto. Stephan Sterns was Madeline Soto's mom's boyfriend, and her mother's name is Jennifer Soto. And there's a lot of people that think she had a lot more to do with this stuff too, as well. It says Stephan said he had dropped her off at school. The same old story, dropped her off at school, and he was the last one to see her and never saw her again. And after further investigation, they found all kinds of disturbing images on his phone of other little ones and all this disgusting stuff. So that's pretty much about the gist of the case at this point. She was found later on. They did find Madeline. She was no longer with us, unfortunately. But this hasn't gone to trial yet. And he's quite a guy. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, well, it came out just yesterday or day before that he strangled her. And
right. Yeah,
then he drove around in the vehicle with her in there, strapped to it to make it look like she was asleep or whatever.
Correct.
But and like you said, he was videotaping and things, doing that stuff he was doing to her for years.
Yeah.
And there was a roommate that had mentioned to the detectives that there was one point that she had sent a text message to the mother and said, "Are you okay with her being upstairs alone with that guy in the bedroom?" And that her response was, "Thank you."
Yeah. The mom.
No. Her response, I'm sorry, it was okay. Like, I agree. I think the mother should be in trouble as well. I do. Something tells me that she's not an innocent in this at all. And it really makes me sick. And I don't know why they haven't charges or anything against her yet. I don't know why, but.
Well, I mean, she at the very least, she was complicit. She didn't protect her daughter. We know that she claimed that they didn't have a very good life,
right?
And that it was she described it as vanilla. Now it's probably because this disgusting person was doing things with her daughter, so she turned a blind eye to it. She would be in his bedroom all the time. Actually, the night before she disappeared, she told the investigators that she told her to go to his room because she wanted to get a good night to sleep.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so I don't know. I don't know if she just, like I said, complicit or just kind of had a blind eye to it or whatever because she wanted him around. I don't know. But do I think that she was involved in her strangulation? No, at this point I don't.
No, I don't believe that.
But I think she was involved in other ways or complicit in other ways and definitely needs to be charged for something. But I'm not sure yet. They're still working on it, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean common sense, if you have my opinion, it's not going to sound harsh, but if you have a brain in your head, you don't let your daughter be in a room with a man that is not even the father, not a boyfriend, you know what I mean? No. And it was for years. I'm talking years. It wasn't just like a couple of times. It was for years. It was a constant thing. And then when a detective was asking questions about when she was supposed, missing or whatever, he kept answering the questions while the mom was talking. He kept answering it was just creepy. The whole thing was creepy. If anybody needs the D penalty, that person does.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty wild case. Like I said, this hasn't even started yet. No. When they got on his phone, they found thousands of images of other little ones as well.
See, I
So
didn't
it's
know
not
that.
just, it wasn't just Madeline. It was all kinds of disgusting stuff,
Yeah, I didn't know that.
you know. Now, she was found on March 1st, days after she was reported missing on February 26th. She's found in a wooded area, and they didn't know anything about the autopsy results were sealed until recently. But recently they came out, some of the things that came out. So I'm going to go over some of that real quick. It says her body was found in a decomposition to her face and her hands, and the bottom of her socks were clean. So they're assuming or surmising that she was carried there because the bottom of her feet were clean. And said she had injuries to her face and her hands, and they're not sure if the injuries to her face and her hand were because of the incident itself or because of animal activity, because she was there for a little while. But they think that she was carried there because her socks were clean, as I said earlier. And it says right portion of her hyoid bone was not intact, and that usually means strangulation.
Right.
So that's pretty much where they're at this point. That's where we're at this point. And I don't know when the trial is going to start, and not soon enough for most people. That's for sure.
Correct.
And whether the mother is going to be charged for something, we're not sure on that yet. I think she will. I don't think it's going to be in the killing of her daughter. I think it's going to be on other things like negligence and, stuff like that. But we'll have to see.
Right.
Do you have anything else on that?
No, we'll just keep you all updated if things progress in this case.
Yeah, as they will, because the trial hasn't even really started yet. So I think that's it. So that's the 4, right? So we want to talk about Mr. Robert Tellis. I think we want to talk about him. Or I think he says Tejas, or he pronounced it. So I think we want to talk about that gentleman. So he was just convicted recently.
Yes.
So what do you know about that case?
Well, that guy was a piece of work. On the stand in the trial, I mean, he thought he was a smart guy, and he was just calm as can be, and he thought he was going to get away with it. He really did, and he was so unbelievable, but he thought he was believable. Um, and then the case, I mean, he used his own car. He dressed with his bright orange outfit and a straw hat. I mean, to me, like, okay, let's use a bright red car. Let's use a bright orange, outfit so that I totally stand out to the whole world. I mean, this guy thought he was smart, but he was actually ignorant. And but the sad thing is that he did the reporter, and the reporter he had done so many cases his whole life for justice of all kinds of things like the mafia in Vegas. I mean, all kinds of things that you would think would have, gotten him in some type of trouble.
Exactly.
And then this lowlife does this because he did a report on him, and he ended up not getting elected when he was trying to be reelected for his position as a public administrator job. He also lost the public administration job. So, yeah, he was a piece of work.
It's like you said. It's another one of those performances on the stand that you have to see.
Yes.
But the thing is, they let him basically. I don't even know how they're describing it, but basically he put his own narrative out there.
Yep.
So he was allowed to self-narrate. Which
was weird to me.
Yeah.
It's like common sense is like, why would you say, well, I think they did it because of this? Or how about if you're innocent, wouldn't you say something like, how would I know? I didn't do it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But instead he was giving them, well, they probably did it this way because of this. And, that's not my car. The wheels are a little different. And it's like, oh my gosh, this guy.
Yeah. And then it was just really odd because he would go out and narrate and then he would be questioned and then he would write things down. So I'll get back on that on my rebuttal. It's like, oh my gosh, this guy, he did everything. He used his own car. He, like you said, wearing a floppy hat and then wearing a
bright orange
vest,
jacket.
Like a construction type thing. Then he's wearing Nikes that are very recognizable. So he's wearing all these things. And then the dumbest thing is that, well, there's many things that are dumb in my opinion, is they have all this camera footage. Parks on a different street, walks up, hides alongside of the house, hurts this gentleman. I don't remember his name. What's his name?
I don't remember his name as well. I know he was a really popular reporter.
I was have to see if I can find it because that's bad. I don't know his name. And he's there for a long time, hurting him, taking his life away from him. And then proceeds to walk away, once again, all on camera, and then goes back to his car, and then proceeds to drive his car and parks in front of the driveway.
Right.
And then gets out and I guess he dropped something or lost something.
Yep.
And then, so all that parking around the corner, and then you pull in front of that house. I just, oh my gosh. And then they go to his house. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. It's laughable.
He's laughable, not the case, but he's laughable because he's so stupid.
Yeah, he goes to they go to his house. They find under his couch 2 pairs of shoes. One is the matching, looks just like the other shoe, very obviously. The other one was cut up, and then there was pieces of that shoe and a baggie. What? And then they go to the garage and they find the bag, like a little duffel bag type of thing. And then on the bottom of his workbench, they find another bag with the straw hat all cut up. It's like, come on, man. And then he's claiming, then they found all kinds of images on his phone of the guy's address, surveillance of him checking cars going by. I mean, it's stuff on his computer about checking what kind of car he had. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like he kept it as prizes or something. It's sick.
It's amateur hour. It's the best way to describe it.
Exactly. And it's sad because this poor gentleman was a very, very well-known reporter that, cracked a lot of cases. I mean, and when this happened, all the people he worked with, they were so passionate to find out what happened to him because he was such a good guy. He was such a good guy to everybody, and he was so good at his job. And so they worked as hard as he did when he was doing cases and got all this going.
You said his name is Jeff German? Is that it? That sound right?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's his name. Apologize for having his name down here. I got a lot of notes. I don't have that for some reason. But yeah, he was a journalist, and yeah, the whole thing. You know why this all basically? He was checking up on him because he first got there and he was like a taskmaster and wanted all these changes, but then he started sneaking off with somebody he worked with, and some of the fellow employees followed him and found the two of them in a parking lot, having a conversation in their car because they were just talking. And
in the back seat.
They're both married, of course. So they're both class people. They believe in marriage. And so they were following him around, and he had all that evidence, and he even interviewed him and did a case, and then he had an article, and then there was another article coming out, and he knew another one was coming. And of course, like you said, he lost his reelection. He blames him for it.
Right. Well, because what happened was he took over. I think he became in charge of this company that he was working for, and the administrator job. And he was really, from what was being told by these women, that he was just horrible to them. Right. One of them was even afraid of him. She was actually at one point had said that she had considered taking her own life because of all the stuff he was doing to her. And so they went to this reporter because nobody would listen to them. And they told the reporter what was going on. And so he started doing all this stuff. And they were so distraught and upset and feeling like it was their fault that he lost his life because they went to him, right, for this. And it was so sad. It was so sad. I think
it was a Dateline or something. They had that. They were talking to the ladies. I do remember that because I've seen that. Because this is an older case. I mean, it just came to resolution now. He was found guilty, and I guess he was just sentenced. You had what he was sentenced just yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was sentenced. I'm trying to remember what he got. He didn't get a whole lot of years, if I remember right.
He got 20 years with the possibility of parole, or life with the possibility of parole at 20.
And that made me upset too, because it's like, what is this? People getting 20 years? Because think about it. People go into prison for like 20 years, and half the time you get out half of that amount of time. And it's just for someone life being taken. That's not okay. That's not okay.
Well, he got life with the possibility of parole at 20 years. So that just means they have to talk to, just have to possibility of getting out at 20 years. If they deny it, he's staying in. So he doesn't have
Right.
20 years.
Yeah,
He has life with the 20.
yeah, because he was found guilty of first degree M, and it took the jury 2.5 days to deliberate. And after he was put, in prison, he did a interview with Court TV, Matt Johnson, where he stated that he did not K the gentleman. He's still sticking to that. I did not, do this.
Yeah, I know he actually did an interview before they sentenced him. He was found guilty, and then they had the sentencing phase.
Mm-hmm.
He actually did an interview in between then.
That might be the one I seen. Then that might be the one I seen. Yeah.
Yeah, he likes to hear himself talk. You have to see it. If you haven't seen his on-stage performance, or on-stand performance, it's like he thought he was on stage.
Right.
It's a classic, man. I mean, the prosecutor was superb. He was firm but fair. He kept trying to say things and said, "Hey, there's no question pending. No question pending." It was fascinating. If you like trials, it's a must watch. But the way he was able to narrate and self-narrate and tell his own story,
never seen such a thing. Never seen such a thing before. Once again, I always like to talk about the behavior panel because I watch them all the time, and they were doing him. They're doing their video on him, and they were saying that they wish that most trials would put the chairs at swivel because he was swiveling like a so-and-so,
like this.
swiveling and doing all this body language stuff, and the stuff they said, wow. I mean, there were so many things that he did. It was like they could just talk forever,
Oh yeah. It was fascinating.
Yeah.
They think he's a narcissist. So I don't know whether that's true or not. I'm not a doctor, but that's one of they're not either. They think that's their opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're thinking that he probably is, and he thinks he's the smartest man in the room. But the way he's explained it, he couldn't explain anything. He just say, "Oh, it was it was a setup. Everybody's against him." So it was ridiculous. And man, the evidence that he left. I mean, it was like breadcrumbs crazy, man. Right to his front door.
It's like he wanted to get caught. It's you know what I mean? And what bothers me about these people that want to sit there and say, oh, there was a setup and stuff, it bothers me because you go back to the Karen Reed case and there's so much evidence against the actual police, the detectives and things that I don't like when people just throw that out there. It's like with her, it's like, it seemed like, that's a possibility. Hers to me is like more legit kind of thing, but most people just throwing that out there. Oh, cover up. So
yeah, it's the OJ effect.
Correct. I was just thinking the same thing. Yep.
We know how that goes. All right, so that's going to do it. It's kind of a long video. I think we're about at 50 minutes now. So anything else in any of these cases?
Nope, I think I'm good.
No, like I said, some of them haven't even gone to trial yet. Karen Reed has to go back.
Correct.
Stephan Sterns has to go to trial. And the other ones have been resolved.
Correct.
So that's going to do it. So unless you have something else, we can wrap this up.
I'm just going to say thank you for watching, and please leave us comments because the comments really help us to know, what you're thinking, what you like, you don't like, any suggestions you might have for us. So please leave your comments.
Yeah, and we don't need any comments about my terrible reading. I can't read my own writing because I think that's very obvious, and I apologize. Trying to get a teleprompter, but I'm having issues, so I'm trying to get things better, but I appreciate it. We both appreciate it. Yeah, definitely like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Constructive criticism is always good. Yeah, let us know what you think because we definitely want to know because it helps us out a lot.
Right.
And helps the channel out a lot. It's growing slowly, but it is growing. I appreciate every one of you guys that have left comments and engaged with the videos and stuff. I appreciate it very much. So with all that, that's it, right?
That's it.
All right, guys. So that's going to do it. So until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and remember to always mind your surroundings. Bye.
Bye.